All right, hi there, Gabriel Clevenger here. So, whether you saw the earlier Advent group video or you've seen me talk in other places, you have likely heard me talk about practices. Maybe this strikes you as a little strange, since pastors and priests, you assume, usually talk about people believing things as being what's important, right? Well, in a way, yes, but in another very important sense, no, where it might be different from what you're thinking or what you've heard before. It is true that people speaking for or about God do very often talk about and welcome you to believe certain things. We do want for you to know about certain things, but here's where you begin to see separation between what I'm talking about and what a lot of folks do. For a lot of folks, believing and saying the right things, maybe praying a certain prayer or checking off a list of things that you would affirm as true in your head, is the essence of life and faith. Now, I don't want to give the wrong impression here, but that is not enough. Pretty much everyone who smokes cigarettes has the knowledge that cigarettes are harmful to their health, but still they smoke because there's something else going on there. Or think of it in terms of like a workout gym metaphor. You can read up on all the best exercises and the effects they have. You can read and take notes on the nutrition realities. You can watch videos of the best workouts. But none of that knowledge will make you in the least bit fitter, healthier, or stronger. The knowledge is important, yes, but it's knowledge that must be put into action. You might have heard Jesus speak to this in a parable about the wise and the foolish builders. We read this in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 7 and the Gospel of Luke chapter 6. Now, in Luke's account, chapter 6, verses 46 to 49, Jesus begins the telling of this with a question. He says, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, but don't do what I say?" So calling Jesus Lord or referring to him respectfully is not enough. Jesus himself says the necessary next step is to actually do it. He says the one who does that is like a man who built his house on a strong foundation, such that the wind, storms, etc. could not affect it. And in contrast, the one who hears what Jesus says and does not actually do it is like a builder who built his house without a strong foundation, such that when the trouble appeared, the house was blown down and washed away. Jesus ends this saying with a dire warning. The destruction of that house, of the foolish builder, was complete. It was profound. It was total. In the quest to build a good life, handle your finances, be healthy, not to mention loving God and loving neighbors, we are not without information. We are the most information-rich generation in the history of the world. But having information does not translate to happiness or faithfulness or holiness, virtue, character, or anything else desirable or good. There's this assumption that having the right information will translate into right actions, but it just doesn't work that way. You see, it's possible, in fact, maybe it's way more common, to believe something is a certain way in your head with your knowledge, but then act as though it's not. We don't like to think about these instances because they're uncomfortable, but it's true nonetheless. I've explored this in many other places that you can probably find here. So what difference does it make for thinking about Christmas this year, though? In conversations with many folks, what I've come to find very helpful is talking about and inviting into making changes upstream. And here's what I mean by that. For instance, we might say this year I really want to not be so hurried, or I want to keep from getting so caught up in the other stuff that I forget what Christmas is supposed to be about. And those are worthy goals. But the issue is not that we don't have worthy goals or intentions, but rather that we really don't know what to do about them. So maybe you find yourself getting too busy for a couple of days and you say to yourself, "Oh, I don't want to do that this year." Or you notice that you're getting irritable really easily and you say to yourself, "I don't want to feel this way during Christmas." But for either of those things, what do you do about it? And can you really do anything about it right then when you notice it? You can make an effort, but you're dealing with effects, not causes. You're trying to change outcomes without addressing the path that got you there. By that part of the river, the current was too strong to do much about it. You can grit your teeth and tell yourself to calm down, or try really hard to stop being irritable, but how long will that last if nothing else changes? So, it's better to make changes upstream. These practices go a long way to shaping the rest of your day in terms of what is normal and expected. I'm inviting you to adopt small practices that will orient you to better see the story and to better hear the voice of God. You see, regardless of your life or your circumstances, I can guarantee you that God has been calling to you. inviting you to step further into what he's doing and what he has been doing since his presence here in Jesus and long before. All the information and the advertising we take in is both constant background noise, preventing us from hearing the voice of God, and lesser stories of other things that we think to be good, distracting us from the activity of God in the world. But by taking up small practices that clear out some of that noise and remind us of what's really going on, we will be, in small and doable ways, tuning our minds, our hearts, our souls to the reality of God being with us. These things are not life hacks or shortcuts. They're not tricks. And this isn't math either. I mean, it's not that if you just do these certain things for X amount of time that your Christmas season will be happy. In fact, there's I'll just say it. There's a mystical effect of practices like these. We find that physical acts have spiritual, supernatural effects. Now, this is not magic. It's just acknowledging the fullness of our being made in God's image and taking responsibility for the lives we live. And as it turns out, you're not alone in this. God shows up where he's invited. When you pay attention and you work to clear out the noise and the clutter that prevented you from hearing God, he shows up to help you. But telling you about all this won't make much of a difference. I mean, I have to tell you about it, but only so that you can actually do it. And I'm inviting you to do it. This year has been so different in ways you couldn't control. I'm inviting you to do your faith differently and see how God shows up. Contact me here for more questions about our Advent groups that we're running, that we're offering for people to be able to jump in with people who think and are wanting to spend Christmas, Advent, kind of the same way this year. Or you can contact me here about any other ways that you can do your faith that I can help you with. I hope to see you really soon. God bless you.